Ladies and gentlemen, squidders and squiddies, Calamari Salutations to everyone. Welcome to the YCL Pick'ems. So, what is Pick'ems, you may ask? Well, let me tell you something. Pick'ems is the game where you can outsquid the squid himself. Pick'ems is basically where you pick which team out of the matches that will occur in the league you feel like will win that match. And the goal of the game is to do this every week. And at the end of the week, at the end of the season, we'll see who performed better, who got the most matches correctly. So this is basically my job on the line. So if I lose this, it means one of you should replace me next season as an analyst. And yeah, so high stakes for me here. Gotta prepare myself really well to face against all of you. If you want to participate with your pick'ems, you can just comment down below on the video comments which picks which picks you want to lock for that week. And you can also send me a direct message on Discord if you have my tag, and I'll register them from there, and I will keep track of all the scores that you send me, and the coach with the highest percentage of correct predictions at the end of the season will be the victor. So let's see how that one goes. Start of the season means many of the coaches still are trying to find out how their teams really function, and so this is probably the week where upsets are more probable to happen. Funnily enough, I didn't predict any upset, but let's just go ahead and start the match predictions, shall we? Here on the screen we have the Montelok Robots versus the 6th Street Viper. And the Viper's team is basically Rain, and Montelok's team is a lot of dark types, some poison types, and some interesting shell smashers at the end. But I feel like the Crobats aren't really prepared to face Rain. They don't have that much speed control to lower the speed from the opponent, which means that the 6th Street Viper will most likely be the first attacking all of the turns. And for that reason, I don't see the Montelok Robots coming out on top of this one. I'll give it to the 6th Street Viper because basically Rain has a really good matchup here. Moving on to the next match, we have a much more interesting match in my opinion. It's the 3 Electrons versus the Trash Town Thieves. And the 3 Electrons live or die by the ability of Cinderace and Landorus punching holes on the enemy's team. And luckily for the Thieves, they do have some solid checks to both those threats in Corviknight and Rhyperior, and that is basically why that combined with the inability for the 3 Electrons to really switch safely on the Darmanitan made me give the edge to the Trash Town Thieves on this one. I do think it will be a really close match, and I think if the 3 Electrons win, is basically because they brought a brilliant combo set that outperformed the Bishmi's team. Moving on to a very interesting match also. So it's the Miami Heatmor versus the Philadelphia Melmetals. The Miami Heatmors can check the Blaziken really well. And further down the line in the match, weakening the Claydol for the opponent's team, mainly the ground for a Garchomp sweep, because Claydol is probably the best thing that can check the Garchomp, because ground resists on the Melmetal side are few. On the other hand, the Melmetals do have pretty good checks for the wall breakers that the opponent has. Frostlass and Ferrothorn will be the most important members of this team, and will probably be the ones that carry the match home, because they check some really high threats in Primarina, Garchomp, and Zarude, and the Frostlass can also threaten the Garchomp really nicely. In the end, I did decide to give this one to the Melmetals. Next, we have the Hustle Gods versus the Austin Tauros. And for the Hustle Gods, going against the champion isn't easy. And it's even more difficult when there's a clear team difference to me. There are multiple threats on the Taurus' side that are faster than the Hustle Gods, and its primary threat in Urshifu. And Tapu Koko will always come in after an Urshifu KO and basically threaten it out with the fairy move. A potential strategy that the Hustle Gods could utilize would be bringing up webs, but the removal of Dragonite and Rotom in this match will prove too much for the Hustle Gods to keep the webs on the opponent's side. In general, the Champions team basically has an answer for everything the Hustle Gods may want to do, and because of that, I really don't think there's even chance for doubt on this one. So I give it to the Austin Tauruses. Next, we have the Endor Teddy Ursus versus the Brisbane Rillaboomers. And on the Teddy Ursus side, there's the Latios and the Tangrowth. And those are the most important ones for the Teddy Ursus this week, because Tangrowth will pretty much tank the Zygarde all day. And Latios is basically unanswered on the enemy side of the field, barring Aromatisse, but the result of the highest threats generally being pretty reliably checked are long drawn out matches, and in a long match hazards are more favorable to whoever has the hazards play a more important role, and whoever has the best setting and removal will probably win the match. In that case, I decided to go with the Rillaboomers because the removal on the Teddy Ursus side is pretty lacking, and because of that, Rillaboomers will be able to keep the hazards they want on the opponent's side of the field, and in switching out to long drawn out match, that will prove the difference maker for sure. Next, we have two coaches that I know quite well. It's the Immunity Idols and the Nashville Nidokings. Southside Braves doesn't have a normal type, and his dark type is Crawdont. That means that Spectrier will do Spectrier things on this match, and there's not much answer on the Nashville Nidokings side. They do have other tricks up their sleeve. So if you notice the walls from the Immunity Idol side, Mandibuzz, Slowbro, and Quillfish, they all share an electric weakness. And since there's two electric types on the Nashville Nidokings side, that electric weakness can potentially be explored and net that win the win. But I find it really hard to pick against Mountay in any given situation, and I won't make an exception for this week. I will go with the Immunity Idols, and I think that Spectrier will run wild this week. Next, and the last match of the Pick'ems is our match of the week. It's between the Sydney Six and the Cerulean City Mewtwo. This is the match of the week because I really expect great things of both these coaches throughout the season, and I base my assumption in the teams they drafted. with the power rankings coming up soon. For this specific match, there's two mons that I'm looking at, and they are Vaporeon and Noivern. Because Vaporeon will be leaving hell for the Mewtwo's to break through. Water Absorb checks Dracovish pretty well, and Noivern basically has free reign because there's a certain lack of ice type moves on the opponent's side. That said, the Mewtwo's do have the Mew, so they have the ability to bring a specific set of Mew that will counter just these things that I mentioned, so that could pretty well go out the drain. And also the Mew can take advantage of the psychic terrain of Tapu Lele, so the Sydney 6 can also has to watch out for that. But in the end, since Vaporeon and Noivern are such big threats for the opponent's side, I decided to go with the Sydney 6 for this week. We have already concluded a match as of me making this video. It's the Hellblaze Volcaronus versus the Calexico Blaziken's. And if you want to know the result, please go check out one of these coaches' sites. They are already up on their channels. So go and check it out and start consuming this league's marvelous content. So this is it for this week's Pick'ems. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below with the Pick'ems that you want to go for this week. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe not to just me but all the coaches in the league, and we'll see you on Friday for some power rankings. Squid jetting out.